Andy McCarthy. We're looking for more details than just that, but this is significantly above even the $12 million that her lawyers were seeking. What are your thoughts? Because there's indications here that Donald Trump must pay Carroll $65 million in punitive damages. So the $18.3 million is in compensatory damages. This thing has exploded on him.
Yeah, well, that's the risk you run, Neil, when you continue even after there's been a jury verdict for you on the precise thing. If you're going to keep, saying the same thing again and again, and it's actionable, you're playing with fire. And Neil, I hadn't thought about this before, but as Alexis was giving her report a second ago, it just occurred to me that it's so unusual to have a trial that's only about damages. And in the normal trial, you have a liability phase, a liability finding, and then you have the damages. You would think in a normal trial, if the jury really wanted to send a message to the defendant, you send that by the verdict, right? By finding the person liable. And the additional damages almost seem like gratuitous is the wrong word, but it's just like the extra, right? Here, if they decide, as they did, that Trump deserved to be punished, they couldn't find him guilty or find him liable. The only way they could hit him was to hit him financially, and it looks like they really did.
I'm doing the math. It's always dangerous, but I know at least a bit about addition here. If you add everything up, including the $18.3 million, the $5 million originally, we're looking at damages in this defamation case eclipsing $83.3 million. That's staggering.
It is staggering in particular, Neil, because, just if you want to get down to brass tacks, and I don't want to be misunderstood as being at all approving of either what Trump allegedly did or the way he's treated Miss Carroll. But I just have to say, the more times that you engage in this behavior, when you've gotten the warning that this is actionable stuff and it can run up your bill, you really truly are playing with fire. He tried to make the case, and if it's just rawly damages you're talking about, it's kind of an iffy case to make, which is to say to the jury, she really wasn't damaged at all by what she was put through because she's become more famous and more professionally successful than she was before. That's an argument that if it works, I guess you hit it out of the park. But if the jury finds it offensive after the judge has told them that another jury has already concluded he committed a sexual assault, you can kind of see where they might get carried away with damages.
Yeah, I mean, those are some staggering sums here. I'm looking at some other explanations here, and I want to bring in John Yoo, and if you could please stay there, and you've been a huge help. John,
sure.
You're looking at this and the unusual nature of this and the added, figures for this. I mean, this is a costly thing. I mean, Donald Trump has been ordered to pay now, when you look at everything, $83.3 million in damages for defaming E. Jean Carroll while he was president. So this is not before that. I mean, the issues that came up were while he was president and things he has said since. So I'll ask you what I was kind of trying to get into with Andy McCarthy. If he makes still more statements and finds or this verdict to be egregious and over the top, then what?
I agree fully with Andy. The whole point of this enormous damages amount, unprecedented damages amount, is to tell Donald Trump to shut up. Right? If you could think of it this way, every time Donald Trump wants to insult Jean Carroll, he's going to have to write a $40 million check for each sentence. That's how bad this is. I can't believe his lawyers haven't succeeded in just telling him, look, campaign for president, run for president, make your accusations about a two-tiered justice system, but leave this alone. Stop attacking people who are no longer public citizens. Stop attacking people where you've already lost and the court has already said what you've done is liable, because every time he insults her again, he's going to have to cut another $20 to $30 million check.
So with that $20 to $30 million check and the temptation of him not to let this go unanswered, He's going to answer. He's going to say something. His lawyers are going to tell him not to. But what is the risk there? If he makes no more derogatory comments and just comments on this being an obscene amount of money and keeps it at that, then what?
I think that's okay. He can say, look, I think I shouldn't have lost. I think I'm being treated unfairly. Just he has to stop repeating the same things he said before and which he's lost again and again. And I think that's the other message behind this large verdict, is not just that he should stop insulting Jean Carroll, but he has to stop disrespecting the justice system. I think that's why the judge wouldn't let him testify. He only testified for, 3 minutes a few days ago.
Right.
Why he wasn't allowed to contest things is because by continuing to defy the court by saying these things, he's showing a fundamental disrespect for the justice system and for the views of his fellow citizens, the jurors. I mean, this is not a judge who's punishing him. This is a randomly selected jury of his peers.
And apparently a unanimous jury in this. So they didn't convene very long. I don't have the timeline on it. Maybe it was a little over an hour. I could be off on that, so I apologize, John. But you do begin to wonder then the significance of this and on the campaign. Now, that's an issue outside legal matters. He has survived this and 91 different counts and indictments covering a variety of court cases, that involve all the way up potentially to the Supreme Court of the United States. He's weathered them with ease, with little impact. This will have some financial impact. He's a billionaire many times over. So you could argue that he can afford this, but can he afford now to listen to his lawyers' advice, who are going to say now pretty much across the legal team, don't say a word about it. He's going to want to say a word about it.
Neil, you're piling up your A's on the quizzes in law school here. That is the real issue. Is he, up to this point, he's basically wrapped up the primary, and he wrapped up the primary because he used these judicial proceedings as a forum to attack the way the Biden administration was conducting justice, to attack the way he thinks he's being treated under this two-tier justice system, he claims. But if he's going to switch to the general election, I think that's different. He's got to ask himself, and you're raising the question, Neil, do these kinds of antics, which were popular in the primary, going to serve him with the independence and even some unhappy Democrats that he needs to win the general election? Or are they going to be turned off by seeing him continue to insult a woman and getting a $20 to $30 million fine from a jury every time he opens his mouth about it? To me, it seems like you've got to switch away from using the courts as a forum now that you're running for the general election.
Andy McCarthy, if you're still with us, the significance of this and what we'll hear from his legal team, what we'll hear from Jean Carroll's legal team, when all of this started, it was a $5 million fine, and that was it. Then the president commented on it, and on we go. And now, of course, the back and forth is whether he says anything else here. But if he has always characterized these charges as unfair, and he's vehement about it, then it's hard to let go of that, right? I mean, it's hard not to say something about it. You are counseling Donald J. Trump. What would you tell him?
Well, I would tell him, Neil, that this is only the beginning, and he's really got to be careful about, how much more he digs into this. And what I'm thinking at the moment is, we've gotten this verdict today, which is astonishing compared to, we were originally told she was asking for $10 million, and this is more than, in total, it's more than 8 times of what she was asking for. But, any second now, we could get a ruling from Judge Engoron in the New York State Attorney General's civil fraud case against Trump, where they were asking not only to put him out of business, but they're asking for disgorgement of, they started out at $250 million. They're now up to $370 million. And you have to wonder, if you get this sort of rat-tat-tat punitive strikes that Trump is sustaining from the justice system, what the impact of that is going to be. As you just pointed out, he's a person of great means. Maybe he can sustain this. But politically, this is not going to play well. These are civil cases, to be sure, but the momentum that it creates in the public mind for what's to come, which are criminal cases, to me, that's politically perilous to him. I mean, I'm like a sort of an amateur political analyst here. The law is more my thing, but I can't imagine that this, you know, putting this in context with all of the strikes he's going to be looking at from the legal system, it can't be good.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.